What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the bye week, a segment we're going to do every 5 or so shows just to shake things up, loosen the vibe, shoot the breeze for a little bit. Dylan, how are we feeling today?
Feeling pretty good today. Had a long week.
Yeah, you had a busy week.
Yeah, a lot of hours of work. First time I had to actually do work this semester of college. So
it's tough when art school actually gives you homework.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty real.
It comes out of left field. It really does.
Well, you're not the only one who have a busy week. Everything from the NFL with their current situation and playoff baseball is kicking off as well. Really getting down to the swing of things. But what's been catching your eye? What's been the hot button issue for you?
Well, in football, the Dolphins are playing a little better, and I'm getting excited about the season. But it's hard to get excited about the play of the season because every day I'm less and less confident that they're going to be able to pull the rest of it off. Because every single day there's a bunch of new tests or new reports of tests. The Colts thing scared me. There's 4 players on the Colts test positive, which was out of nowhere. Didn't actually test positive. Came back hours later that they were all
I'm confused
false.
of what money, what are they where is the investment going to? Because they've spent so much money on these tests, and I think they're getting the cheap ones or something.
They're doing the rapid test, the one that comes back right away, which I don't know if there's more of a margin for error for that, but buy the nice tests. Whatever the brands are, buy the nice one. These are NFL players. They had to cancel practice that day. Yeah, no, it's crazy.
And it's also just you're playing with a schedule that's just so volatile. As soon as we lose a few games and you're talking about weeks being in complete postponement. Pretty insane. But aside from it's hard to say this, but aside from the whole COVID thing, COVID thing, what's been catching the Bills? I'm sure you want to talk about them.
I have a $50 bet with my good friend Clay Stevens. If the Bills win the AFC East, he gets the 50. If anyone else wins it, I get the 50. And he was talking a lot of trash these last few weeks. But I'm here to let you know, the Bills are still pretenders. I'm not sold on the Bills at all. They beat the Dolphins by 3 points. They beat the Rams by 3 points. The Raiders by 7 points. I know the Raiders are good. But then they got crushed by the Titans this week. Mm-hmm. They beat the Dolphins and the Jets, which I'm not giving you credit for. And the Titans blew them out of the water. I think that they're still the 500 team that we know and hate. And they're just overplaying these teams that are not good. They're winning by 1 possession, and they're getting blown out by the first very good team they play.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not. That wasn't a great sign. But I will say, the Raiders beating the Chiefs makes them look a little bit better. There's little things, and there's little, and that's, aside from their record, aside from they beat, I just think the way that Josh Allen has looked, it's a little different. You gotta admit.
He does.
He looks comfortable in the pocket. He doesn't look panicky anymore. And I think that's a big thing. I think Sean McDermott is probably one of the better coaches in the entire NFL. I think they got a really great coaching staff and culture going on over there. And I think that the Dolphins do as well. I think those two teams are going to be the future of this division.
I think I definitely missed with saying that Josh Allen was bad. I won't keep saying that because I watch him and he does whenever he
that's big for you.
Whenever he goes past the line of scrimmage, he pretty much grabs a first down. He's always good to get you extra yards, and I like the way that he just wheels his team down the field. That being said, I don't think the Bills are that good still. The Raiders beat the Chiefs. The Chiefs lost 1 game, and they decided to go and get Le'Veon Bell. In panic mode, I guess. The Jets, what was the point of getting Le'Veon? They paid him so much money, they never used him.
Well, Adam Gase is, by the way, I hope by the time that this episode gets released, that we won't even have to be talking about Adam Gase anymore. Because the dude is quite, it's sad because, you brought him in, there's promise there, and, I think that people try to brush off what he did with Peyton Manning because it's Peyton Manning, and I do think that in a lot of ways, he'll never get credit for anything he's ever done because they'll say Peyton Manning's the coach on the field. But damn, does he just look inept. He calls, our friend Jacob Cooper is just sitting on a couch in frustration. It was that Niners game a few weeks back. And he's like, Adam Gase has called the same play, 7 times in a row. And, and Le'Veon Bell is obviously the victim of that because... the way that the Steelers
I think he
used
had
him...
3 rush attempts this year, or 8 or something. He was single digits.
Injuries there, obviously he hasn't been on the field as much as he should have. But the way that the Steelers used Le'Veon was a multifaceted threat where you have him as a receiver half the plays. Half the plays you have him, he's the most dangerous running back in shotgun. He's the most... Just to have that available to you. He's a great blocker. I think that the Jets are just obviously mishandling him. I think Le'Veon was more than patient with what was going on over there for the time that he was there. Adam Gase literally was like in the first year of him being there was like, yeah, it's not my job to keep Le'Veon here. Like, you just, even though Le'Veon, we all know that when he's in the right situation, when he's being utilized in a creative way, that he's top 5 back in the league.
Every news report that comes out about Adam Gase is like some jaw-dropping thing. Like they decided they had like an internal talk about like should they change who calls the plays, and like they all agreed it should be Adam Gase. Like, I mean, everyone that works for Adam Gase talked and agreed that he was a good coach. Like, they're 0-5 or 0-4.
It's weird because everyone around him is like, except for the players, everyone around him seems to think that there's something there that we can't see. And yeah, on one hand, I do think that I think he should just be a coordinator. I think he obviously has a football mind. I'm not going to say he knows nothing about football, right? But him as a head coach, it just doesn't seem to I don't think he resonates with his players.
I don't think players like him.
Yeah, I think he just loses the locker room.
You know, Devontae Parker is like a breakout star now.
Yeah.
There was 2 years on the Dolphins where he just wouldn't let him play. Like, he was a healthy scratch so many times to the point where Devontae's agent came out and was like, Devontae is healthy. This coach is just tanking this player's career. Like, please trade him or play him. And they played him, and now he's like a borderline Pro Bowler, and Adam Gase is losing games for the Jets.
No, it's. I think it has something to do with like players don't respect him. He's probably an asshole. Like, I mean, he does seem like the type.
Yep.
Like, and I think that just and obviously the NFL isn't the players' league that the NBA is.
Yeah.
But I think what's causing a lot more success nowadays is coaches that are like players' coaches that when in the film room, like, they can keep a loose vibe. They can that's why they can criticize and be criticized, and it's a good back and forth. And I think when players feel like that, they have this respect for the coach, but they can also see eye to eye as men. I think that's been the more successful. If you think about in the past, who's won Super Bowls?
Just the Miami Dolphins. They go from Adam Gase to Brian Flores, completely different style of head coaching, and it's worked out great.
Yeah, and Brian Flores is a guy that people are going to respect, and I think Vrabel is the perfect example. He plays linebacker. Oh, he's so relatable. Such but a football guy. Yeah. And then people want to fight for that guy. They're okay doing whatever drill he wants him to, makes him do sprints or whatever. Even though that he's basically the same age. He's very young, but that's the kind of relationship that they have, and I think that goes a really long way. Adam Gase, aside from him having the eyes of a literal owl, he looks off-putting, he seems off-putting, he seems like he has a very caustic attitude, at least to the media.
Yeah. And
I think that's why this whole thing is really shaken down the way it is.
You know what's hard to watch was Jason Garrett coming out to watch over Dak as he was lying on the ground with his ankle facing the wrong way. Coached that guy all those years and had to watch that happen.
That was pretty sad.
Yeah.
I will say that. I think Dak in a contract year like this.
That's exactly he's not getting paid.
Oh my gosh.
He lost his bag. That's tough.
No, Jerry Jones won. Which is terrible.
They always win. No one ever gets paid in the NFL. Le'Veon, all those years in the Steelers, give me a contract.
That's not true. People get paid. It's just not.
They don't get the long term. Like Le'Veon, got franchise tagged so many times that finally he just goes to the Jets, and he got paid on the Jets, but now he just gets cut again. There's so many guys in the NFL that want that big money, and they just keep getting franchise tagged until they get hurt, and then they never get the money. That happens to a player every year.
Well, what do you think is the perk if you're the owner? Guaranteed contracts in the NFL, it's kind of a weird thing of you as a fan, you're I think I want this player to get a guaranteed contract, and because every fan thinks they can be a GM, as soon as you put them in that chair, you look at it and you're it actually doesn't make sense to give a running back a guaranteed contract.
No. Running backs are only good for 4 years,
and that's a hard thing. I think when you look at a guy like Zeke, when you look at a guy we thought Todd Gurley, right? And you're they're going to be good for a while. I think Todd Gurley is a great example. All of a sudden, he was great. He was literally you're talking about one of the best offensive weapons in the league.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, there's this little scare, and then
he's got arthritis. He's got
it was chronic.
Apart.
It was chronic, and all he was 1 year removed from being this explosive player to is he going to play in the Super Bowl? I don't know. Something's going on with him, and no one really knows what it is. It's kind of like Andrew Luck.
He was a decoy for the whole playoffs. He didn't get the ball. He was just a distraction.
No, and Bill Belichick did not fall for it.
Not at all. Hard Super Bowl to watch.
That was definitely one of the worst Super Bowls. But yeah, I feel bad for Le'Veon. I especially feel bad for Dak. I think Dak, given like almost any other owner, I think would have been a lot more quicker to give him like a long-term deal. Because the thing about Dak is he hasn't proved himself to be an elite quarterback. He hasn't. But he's a very good quarterback. And I think if the Cowboys and you got a guy like Zeke and you just work on the defense, he's a guy that can get you there, and I think he's still learning and developing and whatnot. I just don't think that Jerry Jones, like there was a Gridiron Heights episode that was hilarious. It was the MVP race but like Mario Kart. And Jerry Jones was like, I'm going to see how you do without gas to like warrant how much gas I should give you. And then Dak just gets up and runs, like sprints after the other people just driving away. And I think it's funny, but it's honestly true. Like Jerry Jones saying like, I want you to see what happens if it's like the organization doesn't believe in you, to warrant if we should believe in you. And as soon as someone gets hurt, like, can we blame Dak if like he was just like, fuck the Cowboys and just like doesn't ever want to play another snap for him? Like,
no, you can't. His ankle. I saw it was Gordon Hayward, and it was Gordon Hayward-esque, and I think that by next season he should be fine. But Hayward has not looked the same since, so it's a concerning in that aspect. But Dak, he could have gotten like $30 million a year. It wasn't like he wasn't getting like a good offer. He wanted like the best contract in NFL history. Which, like, do you blame him a little bit for not just taking like a huge deal?
Well, it's more like he knows he's smart, you know, like the biggest deal in NFL, whatever, like a big deal in the NFL for a quarterback in 3 years is the normal. And like, if you don't get ahead, you're gonna be left behind. Like that's the way the NFL, or at least quarterback contracts work. Like that's why you look at a Mahomes contract and you think like, is that obscene amount of money? Is that like literal like Jeff Bezos amount of money? Like, is that actually like a good deal for the Chiefs? Because when you think about it, like if he does somehow play out that entire contract with the Chiefs, that is so worth it for the Chiefs, which is crazy to think.
Yeah. So Dak goes down. Now it's Andy Dalton taking over. The Cowboys are 2-3, sitting atop the NFC East. Is it like the worst division you've ever seen? Because it's been like pathetic, and now the best team doesn't have their quarterback.
We've said this. There's been multiple years. Just throughout, like, even when we were, like, in high school and stuff, like, the NFC East has always been that division that it's just like, let's go 9-7, we'll definitely have this division.
They've been, like, bad, but it's always been, like, the Cowboys are bad, but they got Romo, the Eagles are bad, but they got Vic, the Giants are bad, but they got Eli, and now it's just, like, Carson Wentz, like, I guess, like, who are you, like, putting your hat on in this division to, like, turn things around? Yeah, we talked it in, like, a Zoomers episode. The Washington football teams got... Oh, my God, with Dwayne, they just gave up on Dwayne so quickly, but... we talked about this like in a past episode that Carson is just a man lost right now. Like I don't know like what happens to that division, because like I still think that Daniel Jones can maybe be something, but he's really taken a step back this year in my opinion. Because what we saw last year was that the team was terrible. The offensive line was terrible, but he could still kind of make plays. Because he doesn't have Saquon anymore to like bail him out. I think that's what it is. I think that he looks at his weapons right now, and he looks at his offensive line, and maybe he can't blame. Maybe it's more like the Sam Darnold effect. But still, like it's disappointing to see like a division that had like a bit of potential for a second there. You're like, oh, Daniel Jones, Carson, and Dwayne. You know, maybe that's like the future. Yeah. And it all comes crumbling down. Before we go into the NBA, I want to just run through like quickly the NFC contenders. The Seahawks and the Packers, I am like super high on. I think that like Rodgers is having like a revenge year after that Jordan Love pick in the first round. Yeah. And Russell Wilson like is like proving to be like a maybe top 2 quarterback. Like he's come back. He is weeks. That guy. Russell Wilson went on the Bill Simmons podcast recently and talked about what he does to his body. He has the whole LeBron lineup now. Yeah. He's like literally investing like $1 million into his body every year, just like LeBron, and it's paying off. Like you look at like his durability, his pure athleticism, and the dude is kind of like LeBron in the way that he's like the best athlete on the field most of the time. And if you're like a 5'11" quarterback, I guess you gotta get every athletic edge you can. But yeah, I agree. I think that he is right now. It's Mahomes and him. And I think that Aaron Rodgers is making the case right now. That Rodgers, he never fell off. For everyone that said, like, oh, like he's on the way down. He learned a new system last year. He's still Aaron Rodgers. And I look at those teams, like, doing well, and I look at the Bucs, and I'm, like, not impressed by what the Bucks have done.
No, they might be frauds. They might be frauds.
I don't think Brady's bad. But what I think is happening is, like, the same with Kobe. Like, Kobe was allowed to be, like, not as good the last few years because he was just, like, it was the end of his Lakers run. Same with, like, Dirk. If Brady had just been, like, a little bit less good his last few Patriots years, they probably would have still made the playoffs and you go out, like, still strong.
Yeah.
Like, if you retired after last year, he wasn't as good. They lose in the first round. But now he's gone to a new team. And so now I feel like it's, like, the Jordan thing where, like, there's Bulls Jordan, there's Patriots Brady, and then there's Bucks Brady. Like, oh, Brady should have never gone to the Bucks like that. What a tough look for him.
We'll see. Like, I think he can turn the season around. I think he's going to come out with a vengeance after what happened.
Their defense is not good.
Their offensive line was really taken out of that Bears game. Those penalties, they were literally moonwalking, like, on that possession before he started yelling at them. And that's the thing. Like, with the Patriots, that just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
He was so used to being on this buttoned up New England Patriots team that you're not going to get, like, Bill Belichick will not allow that to happen. And now you're in Miami. Things are, like, looser. Things are, you have Bruce Arians, like, a player's coach. Let's a lot of things slide. He's that kind of the vibe, right? Like, happy hour, like, Miami, it's warm. People are just not as engaged, and it's not New England. It's not New England. Think about, like, the vibe of New England. It's strict. It's, like, it's cold. You're focused and disciplined, and that's not what that's not what the Miami Bucks or the Tampa Bay Bucks have ever been. Because it is like Miami. It's like Tampa Bay. It's hard to get players engaged and focused in a place that's just so fun to live. Like
they added, like, Fournette to that team, like, right before the season started. Their offense should be, like, top 2 in the league. Like, it really should be.
It's like the Steelers.
The Steelers are doing well. I won't take anything away from the Steelers.
When Chase Claypool was drafted, the measurables are all the same as Calvin Johnson, and now his nickname is Mapletron. It's over. It's over. Mapletron's about to take over, and I know he just had one game, 4 touchdowns, but all that aside, the guy is huge. Like, Chase Claypool is huge, and I think that Juju I think he is a slot receiver. I think that is his role, and I think he plays it incredibly well. I just don't think that he has the tools to deal with double coverages and stuff like that. I don't think that's how he gets effective. I think that maybe him being on the outside makes Claypool a little bit more available, but I just think that he's more of that hot receiver guy. I think you can also throw him the jump balls, and I think that he, like, wins that most of the time, just being the size he is. So I'm excited about him. I'm excited about the Steelers. Yeah. I think it's nice that ever since the Celtics dropped the ball, that I like seeing one of my other teams succeed. So
that must be nice. It must be a nice feeling to get to football season and have some relief.
Yeah, it's. I will say it's like stress relief.
I'm looking at the next NBA season because that's the next time I'm gonna get to root for a good team probably.
Yeah.
This isn't the most important thing that's happening, but it's what I want to talk about first. The Pelicans, they got this nice young culture going. You got Lonzo and Brandon Ingram, all these guys, and there's, like, heavy reports that they're eyeing Stan Van Gundy. Every time Stan Van Gundy comes on the broadcast and I hear his voice attack my eardrums, I, like, consider muting the game and just letting Tyler Englander commentate it for me. Like, I can't listen to Stan Van Gundy. If he was my coach, I would retire. I'd retire as a rookie. I cannot.
He's a great coach, though.
Is he? Is that why he's
not? He's not. Okay, I'll take this. He's not one of the greats in coaching, but he's a great coach. I think he's a better coach than a lot of people give him credit for because of those Pistons years and whatnot. But hey, man, those Magic teams were good and they're well coached. And I mean, do I think he's the right man for the job? No. But I'm much more like his brother Jeff. I think Jeff needs to get another shot. But hey, I mean, if the Pelicans are looking to go in a more, like, disciplined route, I guess, I think that's the way you go. But yeah, there's a million better candidates out there that I think ex-players, media members outside of him, I think you could probably go in a better direction. I think Mark Jackson, the guy he sits next to.
The Clippers went and grabbed Ty Lue, and I think I would rather have Ty Lue as my coach because I hate Stan Van Gundy, but I also, like, don't know that Ty Lue is the basketball mind the Clippers need. I don't think he's a better coach than Doc. I think they just needed, like, someone else so that there was a different attitude next year.
No, that's what my friend back home, he just said, like, is this an improvement? And I think from a coaching standpoint, X's and O's, no. But I think that Ty Lue, if I said it once, said it a million times, if you can manage LeBron you can manage any NBA player. Like, if you can deal with because you really got to put your ego aside when you're dealing with LeBron. And because, let's be honest, like, he's the coach on the court, he's the coach off the court. And David Blatt was never able to do that, and that's why they got rid of him. Like, and for him to be able to kind of do that and win a championship with, honestly, like, that Cavs team, like, no business beating that Warriors team. So, like, I think that him, with that accomplishment alone is something. I think that if he could kind of... I think that the name of the game is getting the other players to buy into what Kawhi has to do to maintain his body. I think people get pissed off that Kawhi gets special privileges. Yeah. But you need a coach to tell you, Kawhi can do that because he's Kawhi. Yep. And you need to get over that. Yep. And LeBron, he's had to do that. LeBron can do that because he's LeBron. And you need to get over that. I think it's the same concept.
I think LeBron's legacy goes up if the Clippers are bad next year. Just like, okay, that Cavs team, it was none of Ty Lue. It was LeBron was the coach. The Rockets were also looking at Ty Lue. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if this happened before or after, but Daryl Morey stepped down and they didn't get Ty Lue. And do you think that next year the Rockets like look different? I think they have like a center next year. Like,
it'd be funny if Harden didn't get to do like his whole like shimmy again. Yeah. And like it's just like a normal basketball team. Because I'm gonna be honest, maybe it's because we haven't seen them play normal basketball in years. Yeah. I think they're worse if they play normal basketball. Because now you're trusting Russell Westbrook to make plays in the half court. Yeah. Now you really have to pick and choose with like who are we gonna let carry the ball for like 75% of the time. I don't know like where they go from here, to be honest. I just don't think the pieces fit together unless you play that very specific type of basketball.
I still maintain that Clint Capella was an important part of their offense when they would run the pick and roll and he would get the little like mini alley-oop, because when James Harden drives into the paint now, everyone crashes on him and he kicks out to the corners where PJ Tucker or Robert Covington have to make a three. They're forcing those guys to make the big shots for them. Whereas if you have a big man inside, you can't just all crash on the guard. You have to like have someone paying attention to the guy that can catch the lob. So I like respect Daryl Morey. I heard him on the Bill Simmons podcast talking all about analytics and like he was like basically like the team that makes more threes wins every game. That's like what happens in the NBA. And that's all what he fully went for. And that's why it works so well in the regular season. And then you get to a 7-game playoff series where you play the same team 7 games in a row. You have to win 4 out of those 7. And if you're just hucking threes, I don't know if you can do that.
Yeah, I think it's like... I think you picked the wrong players to make those shots in the biggest moments. He's like, all right, we got to make more threes than the other team in the playoffs. Who am I going to pick to hit more shots in the playoffs? I'll pick James Harden, Russell Westbrook, and Eric Gordon. Those guys are the most clutch players you can get, and like, that's why I feel bad, because I do think that there's a method to the madness. Yep. I think that he's one Chris Paul hamstring away from making to the finals that year. Yep. They outplayed the Warriors through 5 games, which you have to like remember what that Warriors team was, and I think that is an accomplishment in and of itself. I think that
it was the first year with KD, which they were better that year.
And that's the only team in the West that I saw have an upper hand on the Warriors at one point. Yep. There is a time in that series we really thought the Rockets were outplaying the Warriors. And that is, you need to give that team credit. You need to give Daryl Morey credit for that alone.
Definitely.
Because that team was unbeatable. I mean,
people are going to forget about that. Like, people have already forgotten. But that was like, the Cavs lost in 5 that year. Like, the Rockets took them 7. Like, they were the biggest threat. Yeah, and I think that, they're going to obviously go in a more normal direction going forward, and they're probably not going to play basketball, money ball anymore. And we'll see. I'm curious to see if that bodes well, or if that does not bode well for this Rockets team. Just the way that they're built, it's wacky. There's one player that I think could bring them a championship, and I want him to go to the Celtics because I think that he's the biggest X factor in free agency. Mm-hmm. I think it's Boogie Cousins. Boogie Cousins hasn't played in a long time, and if he is like, he kind of like left the league as it was transitioning to like, you need this like big man that can play 3 and D, and he is like. He was on the level of Anthony Davis when he got hurt the first time on the Pelicans. Like, he is the guy to, like, be handling the ball, hit threes, like, be in the post, like, playing defense. Like,
I just think that him and Russell Westbrook tear each other's heads off.
I think, though, that he is, like, a locker room, like, not... I won't even say he's bad in the locker room, because he's never, like... Teammates have never been like, I hate this guy. He's always just been, like, getting flagrants and complaining and stuff. So there is a risk there. But I've never heard like a player be like, I don't want this guy on my team, he doesn't want to win. Like, that's not what he's about.
Yeah, that's true.
And he hasn't played in a long time, and so injuries are injuries. He might not be the guy, but if he is resembles the player that he used to be, whatever team gets him is like getting an all-star, like a top-tier all-star.
Yeah.
If the Rockets get him and he's like Pelicans and Kings Boogie, the Rockets are like a finals contender immediately. I really want the Celtics to get him because I also think he's going to be cheap.
No, I think... See, the thing about Boogie is that I think he demands post touches a little bit more than a player like Andre Drummond would. Mm-hmm. I think Andre Drummond would have fit on both teams too, whether it be the Rockets or Celtics. But you're going to have to pay a little bit more money for him. And I think that's like why, you look at a Rockets or Celtics team with a high payroll and you're like, maybe they go Boogie. And I don't know if Brad Stevens is the guy and Danny Ainge is the guy who would take a chance on Boogie. But it'd be a welcome sight for me. I mean, I don't think that we have a starting center on our roster right now. I think that whatever move we'd have to make to get that starting center would be worth it. And that includes Gordon Hayward. That includes really like anyone outside of Tatum and Marcus Smart. That I do think at this point where the East is getting more and more competitive, that we have shown that we're not built right now to get to the finals, that we need to make a move. And I think like you look at this team and maybe you say we get past the Heat, but I think that series said a lot about the flaws that we have on our team. And they really, I think, I'm almost glad that happened in that way so that those flaws cannot be ignored anymore. Because, let's be honest, we've ignored a lot of flaws because Tatum or Brown goes off and it covers up the flaws when one guy just starts playing hero ball and scores 50 points. That you really start to lose sight of the fact that we have a very inconsistent identity on offense, that we have no inside presence, that rebounding is an issue and has been an issue for us for forever. Like
we haven't been able to
since
close
the IT days.
We haven't been able to close out games since IT left. When we had the IT team like would fight in the fourth quarter, and this team is just like trying to like keep 10 yards ahead in the fourth quarter. They're just trying to like run out the clock for 12 minutes. No,
if we could close out games, I think we would have beaten LeBron in that series with young Tatum and Brown, Terry Rozier. And I think that if we could have closed out, obviously we would have been in the finals this year.
This is a little insider scoop. I don't want to break some news here. This is from Tristan Deschain, so if it's not true, it all goes to him.
Yeah.
He was going to get a COVID test the other day downtown Boston, walked by Mason Plumlee.
Interesting.
Yeah, right?
Mason Plumlee.
Maybe not the solution to all of our problems, but he would be a guy on our team that could play defense better than him.
I think he would be. To be honest, dude, I've said this like a million times you've heard this a million times from me. I just think we need a center that doesn't need the ball, that is physical, that rebounds, that can be that inside presence, protects the rim, and is taller than 6'8". I think that if we have that, I think that all those games in whether you call it the Heat, even the shaky ones against the Raptors, like it would have gone so far just to have a little bit more rim protection, a little bit more rebounds. We have so many shot makers that if we shoot more shots, if we get more opportunities to shoot the ball to another team, it is so hard to beat us. Just because we have so many playmakers. And for us to get out rebounded, and the only reason it's almost like you have Mahomes, but the time of possession just wasn't there. Like we have all the weapons, we just need the opportunity to have more of those opportunities.
Yeah.
And we don't get that enough. And I really do think a guy like Mason Plumlee, and I've been vouching for Steven Adams for a while. Players like that are undervalued because they don't have the post game, they don't have the outside three like potential, whatnot. They're so underrated because we don't need any of that. Maybe a guy should just stretch the floor would be nice. We should bring Baines back. That'd be awesome. He is a free agent, and I just don't think Danny Ainge is going to, pony up and swallow his pride and sign him again. Mm-hmm. But that would be the answer to our problems. Let's be honest.
I said Boogie because there's a version of Boogie Cousins on the Celtics where we're like the Warriors on steroids. Like we'd be such a good team, and maybe like he messes everything up, or maybe he doesn't fit in. But the other option is just to get a Mason Plumlee. Mason Plumlee is the perfect guy because that's just like a random guy, no ego, no anything, just like 8 boards and 8 points, like tall guy.
I mean, if money is no object, what's like the ideal free agent center signing for the Celtics? Because truth be told, we do unload Gordon's contract into like we have a lot of draft picks to package his contract with a draft pick and send him to like a bad team that would eat it, or a contender. And if that happens, we have all of a sudden like $25 million.
I believe that Montrezl Harrell is a free agent.
He is.
And if we had Montrezl Harrell, we would have been in the Heat. He would have been able to guard Bam. Like
That's true.
that without a doubt.
Yeah.
I think that having him and Smart on the floor,
Yeah.
that's
a terrible time.
If you have him and Smart on the floor, then everyone else is playing hard defense as well.
Yeah.
Like those guys just like create that environment, and so that'd be a super fun Celtics team to watch.
Yeah, like it's funny. Montrezl Harrell is one of those guys that everyone thinks he's annoying as hell, and he is annoying as hell. But when he's on your team, you love him.
Yeah,
and that's a classic Celtic. I think he would make a good Celtic.
Yeah.
And now that I'm like thinking about him and Green and him and Marcus Smart just giving players absolute hell, I think that could be a great fit. That's the thing though. I don't know, for whatever reason we've avoided. Maybe it's because we're so scared because of all that money we gave to Shaq. But we have not invested in like a center in such a long time.
Nope.
And
my whole time being a Celtics fan, I've been waiting for a good center. And it was like Al Horford came eventually, but he wasn't even like, he couldn't get a rebound to save his life.
Yeah, he played, even when he was the 5, it seemed like the 4.
Yeah.
And we were dealing with years of Amir Johnson and like, just
don't say that name.
just like, we can never have said like, we need to prioritize this. This needs to be, and we complain that we have no interior defense and no rebounding, and it's just like, well, let's instead of giving all this money to wings, maybe we go that route. And I maybe like just to end this all off, I think that a potential trade, and hear me out, the Warriors need a forward that can act as a stretch 4. Ever since Durant left, they've now they don't have that like forward that can shoot the ball at a lot of places, always look to make the right play. I think Gordon fits so well into what they do. I think Steve Kerr would implement him in a beautiful way, and it'd be tough to see him doing well in the Warriors. But I think if we package Gordon Hayward and one of our first round picks, maybe 2 of our first round picks, and get that second overall pick for James Wiseman, I think that's a solid route to go. And
we would have to trade a pick as well. There definitely wouldn't be high.
It wouldn't be straight up.
Yeah.
But we haven't. Dude, Danny Ainge has collected this.
Yeah, we have
he's been hoarding like
definitely.
draft picks, and we could.
Hayward would do very well, and just like you get the ball, you give it away a second later, like make the right pass to Steph and Clay. He would get Steph, Clay, and now they got Wiggins' numbers way up. I heard the Warriors are going after Dwight Howard, which would be another. That'd be dope to have on the Celtics, even though he's a little bit of a diva sometimes, but he just proved that he can put that aside. Any guy like that would really be helpful.
Yeah, no, I think at this point we can't be picky, and we have to pick a tall guy. We got to get someone who's taller.
We should have a long time to think about it, a long time to weigh on it. Hopefully the season comes sooner than later, but we'll have a lot of theories for the next question mark months.
All right, last thing. What's starting day of the NBA?
Starting day of the NBA? Gosh, what is it, October? I'm going to say March 1st.
I'm going to say Martin Luther King Day. We'll see.
We'll see.
All right, that about wraps it up for this first episode of the bye week. Thanks for sticking around. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Let us know if there's anything that you want us to talk about, and we will see you in the next one.
Please pray for the Astros to lose, and have a good week.
Yes, go Rays.